Right.
Can I interject to tell my favorite Passover story?
Okay, and at some point we're gonna have to hit record because we are recording.
We are
good
recording.
news.
This is good material.
This is editing. Is that no? It's not.
So my first year dating my now wife, we were living in New York at the time. She invites me to attend Seder with her family. I grew up Jewish.
Yes, get it.
Like had a bar mitzvah, but after that, kind of done. Had gone to Seder growing up, but like it had been a while.
Yeah.
I said, sure, I'd love to. This is gonna be my chance to meet her family. As we get close to the date, she tells me, okay, so, it's Tuesday. It's going to be at my aunt's, and Wednesday it's going to be at my parents' place. And I was like, great. Didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. Got even closer, and I was like, so Tuesday's at your aunt's, Wednesday's at your mom's. Is the first day like practice? Now, in my defense, Reformed Jews, which is what I grew up as, only do Seder once. Conservative Jews do Seder twice. I did not know this. This remains one of her family's favorite things that I've ever said. The first Seder is it like practice. So
I think we're gonna edit that part out.
I think that's gold. Welcome to Office Hours.
No, we're not.
With Karpf and Loge. Hey, stop talking over me.
We're editing.
Welcome to Office Hours. Welcome to Office Hours. Welcome to Office Hours with Karpf and Loge. I'm your real host, Dave Karp. Here is my embarrassing guest, Peter Loge. Peter, how's it going?
I'm okay. It's good to be doing the podcast thing. Couple of GW professors doing the summertime podcast thing. How you feeling?
Mostly tired. And sweaty, yeah.
Tired and sweaty. So par for the course.
I want our listeners to know I am training for a marathon, and I'm not in marathon shape. And in August in DC, when it's humid, what that means is that you're either running or exhausted from running. Those are the only two things I am these days.
That's all you are.
Running and exhausted
in
from
general.
running.
Now at least you have a good reason to be running and exhausted from running.
Yeah,
I think
guess.
that's good. All right, so before we get to it, last time we had a live audience, which was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And now they went away.
We fed them.
Because the pizza we gave them was Domino's.
We also just blew the budget on the pizza. But hopefully we can do more of that in the future.
That'd be great.
And we are available for bookings.
Yeah.
So book us for live shows. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking bar mitzvahs. I'm thinking stick with the theme.
I will not actually do this show for a bar mitzvah. I want to not hang out with 13-year-olds.
You've got two young daughters. At some point, it becomes inevitable. A great Me First and the Gimme Gimmes album was I think it was Jimmy ruined Jimmy's bar mitzvah.
I have a question.
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
What is that?
Me First and the Gimme. How do you not? You don't know Me First? It's a sort of.
How would she know?
Because she's cool.
That's true.
They're
but also
a supergroup cover band. They just do covers, and every album is a theme of covers, like country, western, show tunes.
Is this like a local DC thing?
No, this is actually national. Look it up online.
I will not do that.
Ask Claude. They're cool. They're a good band. They're a good band. We're moving on. We have things, Dave.
Office Hours with Karpf and Loge, sponsored by Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. Look it up on Claude.
I'd love that. Love that.
We're doing great today, folks.
We're doing great. Are we done? Is that time? All
what do you want to talk about
today? We've got things. We have so many things. I feel like it's a hodgepodge of things. I do want to start with one we didn't talk about ahead of time. Can we talk about Chuck Edwards, the Republican of North Carolina, deciding to not run for re-election? One of 9 ethics committee members of the House this year. In Ohio, the guy's apparently staying in.
What's his name, Max Miller?
Yeah, Max Miller, the ex-son-in-law of Republican senator. Mm-hmm. Sounds like an awful human being based on the reports. Yeah. But Chuck Edwards, you have to read the report. So Chuck Edwards, Republican of North Carolina, swingy district, very, very much a toss-up. The ethics report, according to the New York Times, said the report, which did not name the women, found that they both received, so he lavishing inappropriate attention on young female staffers. Both received numerous gifts from Mr. Edwards, including jewelry totaling more than $1,000 in value, designer purses, guns, one of which was blue and one of which was pink, shoes, flowers, a laptop and a cell phone, a KitchenAid mixer, a robotic vacuum, Vacations, tickets to performances, one-on-one dinners. The report found that Mr. Edwards also wrote her poems, did yard work at her house, paid for massages at a spa, skipped votes in the house so he could help her decorate her Christmas tree. So the way a creepy married man woos a young female staffer is with a pink or a blue gun, a KitchenAid mixer, decorating her Christmas tree, and a KitchenAid. Yeah, and a Roomba.
The mixer in particular just makes this sound like a wedding registry.
It, as a robotic vacuum, totally does. And if you like jewelry, designer purses, flowers, all that makes sense. Skipped house votes so we could decorate a Christmas tree. Did yard work and bought her a gun.
Sure.
I was just like, I don't know. That's what I got.
Yeah. Meanwhile, by the way, apparently Mitch McConnell is alive.
That's what we're here.
Yeah.
That's what we're here. All right, let's talk about real things.
Go for it.
I just have a checklist of stuff I want to go through. First, reflecting pool, the ongoing theme of the summer episodes of Office Hours of Karpf and Loge. The Department of Justice dropped the charges. Apparently, it turns out it was simply shoddy construction and an inside job and all of that. Trump is incredibly mad at the Attorney General, going after his own Attorney General on this. Is this just the ongoing metaphor of the Trump administration?
I mean, it's a solid one. The problem is, like, it's not the metaphor because every week brings another one. But yeah, they had to drop the charges because it turns out that the Olympian who touched the pool didn't vandalize the pool, like didn't do the thing, as he obviously didn't.
Right.
Judge Janine like had to drop that, and now Donald Trump has just decided to be really mad at her. Like, again, the constant cross pressure that has defined Trumpism is their will to authoritarianism being most stopped by their sheer incompetence.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of seeing that again. Like, it's another episode of the long running series of all of Donald Trump's clown car of employees don't know what they're doing.
But it's also, I think, it ends up, one of the things we've talked about in the past, and people who followed the Trump administration pointed out, is there's so much going on, it's hard to sort of wrap your arms around, right? And I think the reflecting pool becomes an interesting way to encapsulate all of it, right? Yes, the reflecting pool probably needed to be redone. President Obama redid it. It was very expensive. It was very difficult to do. President Obama did it with permits and all the appropriate ways. Probably still needed help. Trump, as we said in the past, said, look, I fixed the ice skating rink in Central Park. I'll just hire a guy. I'll get it done, right? However, by moving that quickly and ignoring local laws and regulations, you get into lots of trouble. By ignoring the nuances of it, you get it wrong. By hiring your buddies, you probably get second or third rate work. He then shifts the blame to somebody else, that it wasn't me, it wasn't my fault. Right. Puts somebody in charge, the Attorney General, former Fox newscaster, who then says, actually, no, this wasn't terrorism, this wasn't vandalism, this was just shoddy work. Trump then accuses her. So this becomes, I think, an interesting encapsulation. And it's also an interesting encapsulation of his responding badly, right? As you often say, the response is the reaction, or the action is the reaction. And President Trump simply could have ignored all of this. He could have ignored the reflecting pool. He could have hired his buddies, had it go badly, and went, well, that went badly, or just ignored it. Not that many people are paying attention. Right. But by constantly repicking the fight, he is reminding people of the things they like about him least and drawing attention away from things that they do like about him. Some of they don't fully agree with it. He's underwater on virtually every issue, but he's not talking about the stock market. He's not talking about immigration. Unemployment numbers aren't where he wants them to be based on today's reporting. We're recording on a Friday when the numbers were released. But he's way off message by continuing to pick fights about things that are really, truly pointless, which is politically just, if I were Thune or Johnson, I'd be pretty fussy about.
Yeah, so three things come to mind. First is, I'm going to offer up a truism here, hard things are hard.
That's
right. Like
that's the insight people come to GW to get.
Yeah, but like the point I want to make here is that's what's undermining him on this and so many other things is the insistence, and this is part of the populist or authoritarian rhetoric of hard things are actually very easy, right? Like I've said, I think on this podcast before, that the siren song of the demagogue is the world isn't the way you want it because there are crooks and idiots in charge. I'll get rid of them and it'll be fine. Right? Hard things are easy. I just got to get rid of them. Right? Like, it doesn't sound like fixing the reflecting pool ought to be that difficult. And yet, if other people keep on trying and failing, it might be that it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It turns out that it's hard in the sort of just technical manner of, yeah, no, it's going to take a bunch of time and money to do it right.
It's a big body of open water in a place that's really humid.
Yeah.
It gets a lot of wear and tear and weather.
If you try to do that in June, it's not going to go well. If you try to do it quick in June, it's definitely not going to work.
Right.
And the assertion of, well, no, I control the world and hard things are easy doesn't work out. The second thing that this brings to mind is there are simply zero pros working in this administration, right? Because like the pros are going to say like, oh, okay, yeah, we insisted that hard things were easy and they aren't. So as pros, what we need to do now is just change the damn subject. This is not useful to us. Let's not let it occupy us, right? A pro says like, oh, we did a performative lawsuit that we shouldn't have done. Now we have to dismiss it. Let's definitely just let this thing shuffle off because the longer it's in the news cycle, the worse it is for us. Right. And since they have zero pros, they're just bumbling along, creating more harm to themselves. And by the way, as a citizen of this country, that's good because them getting in their own way is one of the few things that is holding us aloft in these moments.
Well, I mean, the truism that hard things are hard is something that you quickly learn when you get to Washington, right?
Yeah.
My first boss, Sam Coppersmith, used to say, if we're easy, it would have been done by now.
Right. But it's been a decade of Trumpism, and during that decade, we have incentivized people who just insist hard things are easy, then they take the money and run.
And right. Well, he's now, right, absolutely. Candidates, Democratic and Republican, have run saying, though, we can just fix this. We can just fix the budget. Look, everybody agrees. And you can't because it turns out budget exercises, even with Democrats and Republicans around a table in a church basement, work because the incentives are different than if you're a member of the House of Representatives or on the Budget or Appropriations Committee, right? I worked in the Affordable Care Act, as you know, and we did not get what a lot of liberals wanted, which was single payer. And the insistence was you didn't get it because you were weak or didn't try hard enough. Like if you just insisted, right, if there were some magic speech, it would have happened. No, it didn't happen because there simply weren't the votes for it to happen.
Right. I will say in their defense, at least my crowd of progressives, we didn't want something magic. What we were thinking was, could you please just bully Joe Lieberman out of existence? Like, if you can just bully him enough, then we can get the public option. And like, while you couldn't, like the dream of like, can you just bully that guy who deserves to be stuffed in a locker? Like that was at least a semi-realistic dream.
But that was
bullied Joe
that was
Lieberman more.
talked about it. But that was talked about. Like people were. It's not as if anybody thought, "Hey, I wonder what Joe Lieberman." Of course, people were speculating what Senator Lieberman was going to do. Of course, and my boss was part of a little group that wanted things on Medicare, Medicaid, and we're like, I've been yelled at by Nancy. I was in meetings where Nancy Pelosi was yelling at people, and you remember that the important thing about Nancy Pelosi is her dad was mayor of Baltimore, which is how she learned politics. At any rate, hard things are hard.
Yeah.
Hard things are hard.
I had a third thing though.
Please.
Which is like the reflecting pool continues to be fun because it's low stakes.
Yeah.
Right. And it says other things. You saw the piece this week about Trump yelling at Hegseth because we're like very low on munitions now in Iran.
Right.
And so he's yelling at Hegseth, and Hegseth's response is to say like to grab a deputy and be like, this guy's going under the bus. It's totally his fault. He lied to me. Because again, when Hegseth was pitching him on the war, he's like, no, we can destroy Iran easy.
Right.
Like hard things will be easy. We'll just do it, and we'll be. I don't think he used the word greeted as liberators, but basically greeted as liberators. It's going poorly, and Trump's only move is to be like, no, we've got worked out before the markets open on Monday. Like they just keep on sort of thinking they can insist their way through it. That's not going great.
Although
we can't kind of laugh about it when it's Iran because.
But that makes it harder to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So because the stakes are so high, I mean, the advantage of talking about the reflecting pool is that it's serious enough that we can pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But it's not so serious enough we get caught in the, oh my gosh, what's happening piece.
It is the same phenomenon, but at lower stakes.
Right.
Yeah.
That said, which is why I think it makes a good metaphor. That said, there are some easy things that people who govern can do. And I am, again, counter to type, going to come to the defense of the mayor of New York. Because he's apparently, for a socialist, he's reducing red tape, reduced like 50 regulations on small businesses in New York City.
Yeah.
Right? So he's actually promoting small business, promoting entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Like if this is socialism, if socialism means more small business and more capitalism, sign me up for more capitalism.
Again, this is the reason why you're going to end up in the DSA.
No.
It's because we're going to find out that the DSA is full of people saying we just need to make capitalism work better by like handling the hard things and also making the easy things work.
See, for me, that's actually just making capitalism work better.
Right,
rather
and that's
than
going to end up being the
reinventing.
DSA, and that is how you're going to be.
So
a
the DSA has
card-carrying
actually
member.
become capitalists. You're going to tell the DSA they're
It's
actually
gonna-
capitalists.
They're going to be the ones
They're
who are
actually
fixing
saving capitalism.
They're the ones who are
so
fixing
you're going to tell
capitalism.
your socialist students that good news, you're saving capitalism.
Yeah,
You
that's
wanna call
absolutely what I'm
Carly?
going to tell them. They're
You're
going to be
call
on board with
Carly.
it, and then you're going to come with it.
And you're going to call Carly and say you're saving capitalism.
I'm going to explain to her how actually, when you think about it, the DSA is what makes capitalism work. She's going to say, "Yep, you're right," and then you're going to come with us to a meeting.
Okay,
be great.
I think we have
great.
to have Carly on the show to talk about that. But he's making stuff work. Like one of the things we've talked about is, as a mayor, if it works, you gotta both fix the plumbing, like this another ongoing metaphor. A lot of water metaphors this summer, it turns out. We're going to fix the plumbing, but also do the stuff that looks cool. Like we also, reface the cabinets. So maybe it's that that Trump has they've either run out of easy things to do because Biden did some and Trump did some of the first term and Obama did, right? Or they're just picking the wrong things. Anyway, we're moving on. We're coming back to the swimming pool.
You want to talk Senate?
I want to talk races in general. Can we talk races in general, not just Senate?
Let's do it.
So one of the things that's come up over the course of the summer is these one-off campaigns or races that look like they could be interesting politically, and we keep adding to them. So one of the ones I've been watching, we're going to get an update on in a few minutes, hopefully. But in Nebraska, the Democratic nominee for Senate dropped out and endorsed the independent, Dan Osborne. So it's an independent versus a Republican. In South Dakota, the Democratic candidate for Senate dropped out, leaving the independent Brian Bengs to run against Mike Rounds. Bengs ran in 2022, got his clock cleaned, which is not surprising in South Dakota. The Democrat is not endorsed, was pretty bitter about it as of at least earlier this week. But now you've got two states with an independent running against Republican, no Democrat in the race. Do we have an update on Montana? Nobody's dropping out.
They have confirmed either of them are dropping out right now.
All right, so those of you who can't hear on mic, have just looked at our producer Yvonne. We're recording this on a Friday, early afternoon, late morning. I saw an alert that the independent Bodnar was going to have a press conference announcing his political intentions, which are apparently ain't going nowhere. So you've got an independent who I think has a reasonable shot of winning if there's no Democrat in the race, a Democrat in the race, and an incumbent and a Republican, which I think hands the race to Republicans. But it'll be interesting to see what Bodnar does because he's got a lot of institutional support. The other one I want to throw onto this is a governor's race. So Arizona has term limits for governors, 2 terms. And for the first time ever, gubernatorial candidates run with a running mate. So the incumbent governor is a Democrat named Katie Hobbs, reasonably popular. She named as a running mate John Giles, Republican former mayor of Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
Mesa on his own is a big city. It's also a suburb of Phoenix. Giles is an anti-Trump Republican who spoke at the Democratic National Convention. So the incumbent Democrat is running with a Republican against the Republican nominee is Congressman Andy Biggs, very hard right conservative, election denier. His running mate is Sine Kerr. I apologize, Ms. Kerr, if I'm mispronouncing your first name. Former state legislator, not an election denier. She's actually said Biden won the election. We just have to move on with it. But now you've got, I think that's a fascinating look.
I think it's a fascinating look. The thing that stands out to me is you combine those with progressives winning in Michigan. Like there's a bunch of races where progressives and the DSA are winning.
Yeah.
Overall, I think this is what a defensive democracy coalition looks like in practice.
Oh, interesting.
Which is a bunch of different things working in different places. It's all kind of a mess because going through it is in fact real messy. But you sort of in each state, in each locality, you're figuring out, okay, what seems to be the will of the voters? And that both includes who's going to do well in a general election, but also like progressives are winning in a lot of places because, well, voters really don't like Trump. They also kind of look at the Democratic Party as losers who let Trump happen again. And so you've got this hodgepodge, this mix, and you're just working it out. There's no big lesson that you can take from Arizona, from Michigan, from any one district or race. Right now, we're still in the early days of figuring out who are the candidates going to be. And it's a mix and match. Montana, it sounds like they kind of screwed that one up. Like, guys, get it together.
Yeah.
But also, democracy is messy, and it's the Defensive Democracy Coalition also ends up being a mess.
I love that. I love that take on it because it's easy for everybody to look and say, aha, I told you so.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, look how Michigan turned out. I told you so. It's the rise of the insurgent left. We've got New York City and we've got Michigan. No, no, no. Spanberger in Virginia. Look what Katie Hobbs is doing with Giles in Arizona. The moderates and the third wayers are saying, no, no, no. Actually, what I hear you saying is candidates really don't like President Trump. He's underwater on everything.
Yep.
Or voters, not candidates. Also increasingly candidates. But
Right.
Donald Trump is underwater on virtually everything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean people like Democrats.
Right.
And it's not just the it's not just the ineffectiveness, it's the insiderness, it's the elitism, it's this decades of messaging that vote for us are smarter than you, whole lot of reasons. So now what I'm hearing is candidates are looking for what voters actually want and trying to respond to voters. And that'll be different in different places. And maybe it's not policy, maybe it's approach or attitude. Maybe it's how am I talking about it, right? Mamdani is of the people all the time, somehow in a three-piece suit, or not three-piece, but like very,
Always wearing a suit.
very sharp.
Yeah.
Very sharp, but a man of the people at a bodega. Like he's got a personality that resonates, right? Which is different than, and so I think it's an interesting set of how people are responding. By the way, I talked to, as you know, and as our listeners know, I did Arizona politics for a while. And so as soon as I saw the Katie Hobbs news, I pinged a bunch of folks who are still pretty tapped into Democratic politics in Arizona. And every single one of them said, really smart move, right? Former Democratic member of the House, very senior Democratic officials. They tend to be not super liberal, but center left to pretty centrist. Everyone's like, wow, that's really, nobody's like, oh, I don't know, it's caving, this is bad.
Yeah.
Super smart move. And I think you're right. I think the lesson isn't are voters going left or right. It's are candidates meeting voters' frustrations and responding to what voters want.
Yeah, and a thing that I'm seeing from a lot of people in the sort of pundit sphere right now, since we're just post a bunch of primaries, is an instinct to over-index on their favorite or least favorite election and say, well, this is the future of the party. And so, like, what I hear there is, I don't think anybody in Arizona, right, Arizona politics is saying, yeah, this really means that in 2028, whoever the Democratic presidential nominee is should run with a Republican as vice president. Like, that would be a silly lesson to draw because you'd be over-indexing on the thing. Just understand both the stakes in the moment and try to respond to it. Like those sort of basics. Do that, do it well, and try to help salvage democracy from the moment you're in right now.
I think you make a really good point about the bipartisan ticket piece, because every 4 years in Washington, we get what used to be the Washington Post editorial page writing a bunch of op-eds saying if only there were more people like, right? And it would be the Lieberman-McCain ticket or these bipartisan tickets, or we're going to have no labels, or we're going to have whatever. All of which makes a lot of sense if you live on the red line, right? And you go to Talks at Politics and Prose hosted by your friends. None of which makes sense to voters.
Also, since I grew up on the red line, doesn't make sense to a lot of people on the red line, actually. Like, you go out to Shady Grove Metro and that take doesn't actually work.
Yeah, and I think increasingly in Tacoma Park, they're just rolling their eyes and drinking Chablis and driving Priuses. A lot of insider chatter for people who don't generally like insiders. But I do think you're right. It's easy to say, aha, I told you so. What we really need in 2028 is, Mark Kelly running with former senator from West Virginia.
Manchin?
Yeah, Joe Manchin. We really need a bipartisan. No, that's not what Arizona teaches you. What Arizona teaches you is Arizona voters want people who talk about Arizona. Like this is a state that is overwhelmingly pro-choice and also elected Andy Biggs. Like what you can learn there is people running for office in Arizona should talk to voters in Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what you learn.
It's a good idea to respond to the moment, find a good message, and also maybe bring somebody with some charisma.
There you go.
That's the set of things that you mostly want.
Last election I want to talk about, and then we're going to kick it over to you because I know you don't want to talk about this. The election I'm going to be following incredibly closely, at least until March. The president of FIFA, the governing body of soccer. It turns out that this guy, wow, FIFA is a heck of an organization, wanted to privatize part of the World Cup, wanted to sell part of the World Cup to private interests. Like it's basically private enterprise at this point, but he actually literally wanted to sell it. At which point, the governing bodies of soccer in Europe and elsewhere around the world said, actually, if you do that, we will never play in another FIFA-sponsored event. And when Europe, Spain that just won the World Cup, France that was in the semis, England was in the semis, when Europe says we're sitting it out, like you're done. And I also think a lot of it is just the anti-Trump stuff. Like global leaders really dislike Donald Trump. They really hate what happened with rescinding the red card. I'm getting into more minutiae than you care about. I can see you doing the alphabet on the
I
roof of your
care
mouth
about
with
the
your
red
tongue.
card. That was interesting.
That was interesting. But I think, like, if you follow elections, like who votes, what coalitions matter, this FIFA election, that's going to be a banger. Sign up for the Athletic. There's increasingly good soccer on Blue Sky. Blue Sky.
Blue Sky is the app for sports. That's true.
It's the app for sports. Sure. Those are the elections I got. That's I got other stuff, but I've been doing things. What do you want to do? I have an Aristotle quote.
Oh my god.
We'll say that to the end. It's a good one. It's quality.
So a couple things I want to talk about. One, Ben Wickler
Are we
has.
going to highlight that you're wearing shorts?
I am for our listeners. I have broken down because it's August. All summer, I was insisting on wearing pants to this thing, and then I was just sweaty on air. I am wearing shorts today, so listeners now know that, and viewers can see my bare legs. Thanks for that.
It's up here to be
So glad we brought the podcast back.
Gonna make this. Yvonne's gonna make this okay with YouTube somehow.
I was going to talk about. So Ben Wickler.
I have an Aristotle quote.
Stop. Can I get like a spray bottle, like he's a cat? Just a spray bottle, like a.
Ooh, it's hot out. That'd be lovely. That's a little spritz.
Put that. If any listeners want to do gifts for the show, you could donate a spray bottle that I could spray Peter Loge with. It would make it a quicker and I think better podcast if I could just no. Ben Wickler has a new book. It's called "This Is the Plan." I read it. It's a very good book. I'm planning on reviewing that and another book that people should read called "On Courage." So I'm planning on writing that review, but. I thought Ben's book was really interesting and really interesting for the stuff that we talk about.
Cool.
For people who don't know, Ben, who I know from back in the days when he was working at MoveOn.org and Change.org, he then went on and was the head of the Wisconsin Democratic Party and helped turn that party organization around. Right, as he says in the book, Wisconsin was kind of the practice run for what the Republican Party is now doing nationwide.
Yeah.
Where the Republican Party controlled it enough to gerrymander the hell out of it, to undercut public unions, just to sort of do all of the power grabs and try to structure things so they could never lose again. And Ben came in as the head of the Democratic Party and helped rebuild things to the point where Democrats are now winning the stuff they need to win. They don't win everything, but they now deeply compete and could see real gains this upcoming year as well. He was then a candidate for DNC chair. Oh, if he had won. Since he lost, instead, he kind of wrote this book explaining the lessons of what worked in Wisconsin and how you could do that nationwide.
Cool.
And the thing that really stands out, and it's a good book. It's a fun book. I will be teaching part of it this semester.
He's a good writer. It's a good writer.
Yeah, he's funny too.
Yeah.
What stands out though is there's nothing in the book that would have anybody who's a pro say, "Oh my God, I had never thought of that before." Right? Like the real lesson of the book is all this stuff is work and it's hard work, but also all of it makes sense, right? Like you need to have a party organization that communicates to the public, identifies potential voters, engages with them over time, identifies candidates at the local level and builds up organizations so you can then win at the state level and up and up and up. But it's about sort of the work of democratic maintenance over time. There's no silver bullet in there. There's no like, here's the radical policy idea that changes everything. It's just, let's take seriously how hard this is going to be, and then we're going to do the goddamn work. And I found it to be a really compelling book, and also just a book where I was like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Can we make this thing work at the national level, or will we always end up finding something to trip ourselves up over? Because it makes so much goddamn sense that you also find yourself wondering, like, how did we forget these clear ideas to begin with?
If we're easy, it would be done by now.
Right, but also...
But it should be easy.
It's not that it should be easy, but we shouldn't have to keep on remembering, and this, I don't know if you want to talk about the autopsy.
I was going to bring that up.
Right,
Yeah.
but like an awful lot of the insights for like why did Democrats lose in 2024 are things that did come up in 2006 as well, right? So it's a question of like, can we have enough long-term memory as a party organization to stop making the mistakes that we made 6 years ago, 12 years ago, 18 years ago?
I'm skeptical, But so you mentioned the autopsy. So we were talking about the Democratic autopsy a few weeks ago, very insider stuff. The New York Times in later campaigns and elections reported on an autopsy of the autopsy. Basically, the guy who wrote it now says there's a chapter was missing. He delivered a full report, a 3-ring binder.
You kind of climbed out from under a bus and waved.
Yeah, say, hey, remember me, old friend? And apparently in the missing chapter, he writes that part of the fault, and he hedges it, right, because it's a report on one never knows, one should investigate, it's written in this kind of language. But basically, the consulting class, and not out of malfeasance, right? The consulting class, like, yes, you run a business, you want to make money in the business. I help run a consulting firm. You got to pay the bills. But it's you lose track of who the voters are or where the voters are. You over-index on last elections. You grab onto what you think is the coolest thing. You're writing the red line a lot, and it's that forgetting the basics of elections are about votes, and votes are cast by voters, so you need to talk to actual voters, right? And to your point, one of the most important lessons I learned was interning for Michael Goldman, a Boston political consultant when I was in college. And one of the lessons I learned was that most of politics is mostly boring most of the time, right? You're not sitting in rooms coming up with a great scheme and the magic bumper sticker that's going to change the world. You're calling people on the phone.
Yeah.
You're knocking on doors. You're stuffing envelopes. It is you're building and maintaining relationships. It is the basic blocking and tackling. And it's not as sexy. It's not as fun. You don't get a cut of the ad buy.
Right.
Nobody goes to college to 4 years to learn how to have one more conversation with one more angry voter about their knucklehead nephew. But that's actually what it takes to get elected.
Yeah.
You got to have a good plan. You have to have a good vision. You've got to have, like, strategy matters. The data analysis matters. I teach political rhetoric. I think that matters.
Right.
But if you can't execute on the plan, it doesn't matter how pretty your plan is.
So I'm fully with you on that. My exhausted sigh there wasn't exhaustion at what you're saying. It's exhaustion at the broader phenomenon. Look,
the 2026 broader phenomenon.
Like I haven't seen the autopsy of the autopsy like in detail. Like it's even a little too in the weeds for me now that I'm again running marathons or training for a marathon and then just exhausted from running all the time. So like I haven't given this a lot of attention. But the thing that comes to mind
I
immediately,
can't read or pay attention. I'm too exhausted running marathons.
or just like let's just understand. Like I only have 2 modes now, which is going for a run and too tired from going for a run. I'm going to be a great professor this semester.
I am looking forward to this.
By the way, just to go on this sidetrack, the marathon I'm running, I'm going to run the Marine Corps Marathon in October.
Yeah,
That's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We have me teaching on Monday afternoons this semester. So the day after I run a marathon, I'm going to be standing up in front of a room for 2.5 hours.
Love that.
I'm going to be so obnoxious to those students that day.
How will they know the
Like,
difference?
no, it's like that thing. It's actually going to be worse than normal Dave.
Worse
They're
than
going to be
normal
like, "Why are you so bitter at us? It's not our fault you ran too much." And I'll be like, "Yep, but I'm here and I'm cranky." That's just what they're going to get. Anyway,
So any of his students who are watching this, look at the calendar.
Summer.
Look at.
Don't watch us during the summer, current students. Alumni, you should watch us because, we're from your younger days. But current students, come on.
First
Don't
rule of
enjoy
being in a
yourselves.
hole, Dave. First rule of being in a hole. Stop digging.
Then why are you still talking? Anyway, the point I was going to make
Are we done?
is that
I have an
the
aerosol quote.
autopsy of the autopsy sounds too easy. And what I mean by that is, like, I remember reading Amy Sullivan in 2006
Okay.
wrote a piece called Fire the Consultants,
Okay.
which is about how the Democratic Party keeps on losing, right? Like 2000, 2002, 2004, 2000. We keep, no, it was after 2004, before the 06 election.
Okay.
Like we keep on losing and then hiring the same people, giving us the same advice, and then we lose again. Like, and that was, I think, a really insightful thing to say in 2006. That the autopsy in 2024 is basically just saying, like, yeah, what she said, but 18 years later, like, he might be right, but he's not insightful at this point. Because, like, we just say that every time and we never learn from it. I would like, she wrote that, I think, for The Nation magazine. Like, it was just a public essay. Yeah. If she had been the person hired by the DNC to explain how did Trump get elected again, I would like some deeper insight than a thing that a good essayist wrote 18 years earlier. So I'm still just kind of, like, he can be right, but I'm also unimpressed.
Fair enough. But that also means people making the same mistakes again and again.
Yeah, like,
And it's
again,
also
get the basics right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's worth, I don't know. I think it's I like the consultant class. It's paid my bills reasonably well. I've got friends who are consultants, and I do
Not
think
enough friends.
and I do think there are a lot of check the box. And I do think obviously messaging matters. I think polling matters. I think survey research matters. There's some really smart people helping win important elections. But I also do think consultants can get a little too precious, right? And it's easy to lose track of what you're trying to do and who you're trying to do it with because you're hanging out with people like you. You're smart. You're hanging out with interesting places, and it's easy to forget that it's actually. Most people, most of the time, don't think about any of this stuff. They don't think about the reflecting pool. They don't think about autopsies. They don't think about any of this. What they think about is young men are dropping out of the workforce.
Right.
That's bad, right? Older people are dropping out of the workforce. In their 50s and 60s, they get laid off or they change jobs. They can't get another job, and they just discover they've retired because, like, most people worry about that, right? And as a consultant, it's hard to walk into a room every day for a 30-year career and say, actually, it's about the same thing it was about 10 years ago. Make one more phone call. So I'm sympathetic to the consultant class, but I also get a lot of the critique, and I think it's got to be part of the ongoing critique of it. I don't know. I think it's interesting.
And part of the challenge here is, broadly, I think the challenge is that there's so much money, not just in politics, but in electoral politics, that these become, like, these are industries in a way that they aren't if you visit any other country.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say, like, of the entire broad consultant class, the subset that I find annoys me the most is, like, I feel like anytime I'm at a party that an ad guy is at, and it's always a guy, there's this sense of, like, if you produce political ads, you are genuinely convinced that if they would just spend enough money on your ads, then they would win.
Yeah.
And, like, the math of that doesn't math.
Right.
And, like, when they were saying that in 2004, they were wrong, but I will, like, grant a little bit of innocence. If you're saying that in 2024, then, like, you have just drunk your own Kool-Aid for too long.
But it's the same with the direct mail people do the same, the phone people do the same thing, the text people do the same thing. If only they spent more money on my thing, everything would be happy.
And
if only they listened to me, everything would be happy.
Like, have the broader perspective to say, even though you're paying your bills that way, like, what we actually need as a party, as a country, you need to talk to voters. You need to understand the moment you're in and take the moment seriously, which is a thing that I think the Democratic Party often doesn't do very well. And you need to take governance seriously. You do those three things, you have to adjust, and it's always going to be hard. But, like, that's the core of it. And if you are a political professional who've decided that's not the core of it, you've gotten off track. Like, knock it off.
I want to give a shout out to one political professional who I think gets her right, Will Robinson.
Okay.
Longtime Democratic consultant, read his Substack. But I think Will really gets this right in really interesting and compelling ways. And I think, I'm not positive of this, but I think he's an old field guy, and I think field guys are the best at this because they understand what this means. We're getting the high signal from Yvonne. It's time to wrap and go. Any parting shots? Where do you get a blue sky this? Where are you going to skeet it? What's the word here? I got to get more.
I can't believe you said
It's not. It's not skeet.
I mean, technically it is,
No,
but
it's not.
technically it is. Technically
So
it is.
those who
Shout out to Illumi.me who did make that happen a couple years ago.
So
I haven't talked about
those of you
situational awareness
of
yet.
you listening at home or in your car or wherever you're listening, our producer Yvonne off mic just got into a very heated debate with my co-host Dave Karpf with not skeeting. She insists it's not. Dave insists it is. As a tie-breaking vote, Yvonne's right. So
look it up in Urban Dictionary. It totally is skeeting.
So
I don't care.
I know. I do know. I want to mention situational awareness for a second.
we're getting the rap signal.
I just want to
Quick.
Read Liz Lopato from last week on situational awareness. There's this guy, Leopold Aschenbrenner, who used to work at OpenAI, used to work at FTX, wrote a manifesto in 2024 saying AI is just going to go up and up into infinity, and it's going to change the whole world by, like, 2027. There were a bunch of chart crimes in there. Like, it was silly, and people like me made fun of it at the time. He then turned that into an investment fund, his own hedge fund, and all of Silicon Valley, like, gave him money. And since he was betting that AI would just go up into infinity, it was doing really well. A week ago, he went from having made $45 billion for that investment fund to losing $35 billion of that and getting liquidated by Ken Griffin. That was on Thursday last week that situational awareness lost all awareness of the situation. As of Tuesday this week, he's now launched a new fund. And in between those 5 days, that dude got married. And so I really want to watch like a reality TV show of like what the past week of that guy's life is, because that has to be the most ridiculous wedding on earth. And I need our listeners to read up on this and gossip with me about it, because I don't have friends and so I don't know who to talk to about this stuff. That's all.
That's all. I think the entire wedding, the gift registry was, unlisted accounts of the Caymans.
Probably so. Do you want to give us a quote to end?
Oh, we have an Aristotle quote. What a great setup! I
I've
know we
heard
have
that he
to
might
go.
have
I
an
know we have to
Aristotle
go.
quote.
I know we have to go. It's only like 8 pages long, Yvonne. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny.
That's Aristotle.
See you next time, everybody.
Again, if you are a current student of Peter Loge's, I want to end by asking you to think about, why are you spending August before the school year listening to this man read you Aristotle quotes? That's what you're going to do all semester anyway.
They believe in excellence. See you next time.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.